Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Patrick Cooke. Patrick Cooke is a sobriety coach, and you can find out more about Patrick Cooke and his wonderful work at patrickcookecoaching.com. Welcome, Patrick Cooke.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so Patrick Cooke, if someone is struggling with alcohol addiction or dependency, what are some of the first steps they can take to feel better and to get better?
Great question. And I get this one a lot. So for me, on my journey, the first steps were gaining crystal clear clarity and taking full responsibility. So what does that mean? Clarity in the first place means taking a snapshot of where you are in that moment, being really honest and getting really honest with yourself about what is really going on. For a lot of people who struggle with alcohol, they know that something is amiss. They know that it's negatively affecting them, but they don't see any way out of it. So the first step is to really get clear and say, okay, I know alcohol is negatively affecting me. I know it's a problem, and just want to be honest with ourselves that that's the issue. And so when you get a clear snapshot with honesty and transparency, that's your starting point. So many people just want to make excuses or just push away the truth, and that's never going to be the path to success. So the first step is gaining crystal clear clarity. Then the next step is taking full responsibility. Like I said, people want to blame other people. They want to make excuses. They want to say, oh, I had a hard childhood, or the economy is tough, or I'm not making enough money, or whatever it is that they're telling themselves that, okay, it's okay to drink. I deserve it because of this. So it's super important to take full responsibility. And this one is really challenging for a lot of people because it means being completely honest with themselves that they are in control of their entire lives. And that can be scary. But at the other side of that, it's very empowering when you come to that realization. I am in control, and I am making a choice to do something different, to make positive changes in my life. So crystal clarity is the first, and then taking full responsibility. That would be my first advice.
You know, I just really love that you're saying this, Patrick Cooke, because in my work as a medical intuitive, one of the things that I look at is a person ready, willing, and able to heal?
Absolutely. It's exactly it.
Right. And in two of my books, I talk about how there's 25 payoffs for staying sick and unwell. So a lot of times people have secondary benefits for their addictions, for illness, and so on. As you say, it's only when you take total responsibility. You know, I created this mess. I created my life. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What am I getting out of this? And what do I need to do, right? But because sometimes even in my work, I'll do a healing with a person to be willing to get better. And just because a person has hired a professional coach or a healer to help them doesn't mean they're actually ready.
100%. Absolutely. And I do preliminary calls with all my potential clients for the exact same reason. They have to be ready. They have to have the commitment, and they have to have that sense of urgency that they're ready to change. And if they don't have that, then, you know, it's okay, but, you know, maybe come back when you are ready.
Right. Now, many people have heard of 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous. Exactly is the success rate of Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah, so let me just foreshadow or give the disclaimer that I don't have any personal experience with AA. I've never been to a meeting. I've never been through a 12-step program. I do know a lot of people who have gone to AA, and many of them, with full transparency, have had great results. But the numbers statistically are quite low. In fact, there are 5 to 10% of people manage to maintain sobriety after going through a 12-step program. So the question becomes, why is that? And so I've done a lot of investigation down that path. For me personally, I never identified as an alcoholic. And so when I was in the midst of admitting I had an issue but didn't know what to do about it, looking at AA or 12-step program didn't really feel in alignment with me. It felt like I was giving up, or I would have to admit that I was a failure. And after doing some investigation into these programs, one of the first tenets, one of the first things they have you say is that you're powerless over alcohol. And that implies that alcohol is an incurable disease. So those two things for me are red flags. Anybody who is interested in healing and getting better has to take full responsibility, which means empowering themselves. And rather than saying you're powerless, because as soon as you say you're powerless, guess what? You are powerless. You're giving your power away to the program or to a sponsor or to alcohol itself. So for me, I wanted to create something that wasn't available when I was in that situation, an empowering program where you are invited to take full responsibility, to go inside and create the change that you want to see from an empowered place, because that is a far more sustainable solution, rather than the other route where, giving away your power and then you're constantly with a sponsor, you're constantly labeled as an alcoholic, and then the shame and the guilt and the self-loathing, that those lower vibe energies that sort of go along with that were not exactly what I wanted to do with my clients. So I want to empower people to get better, and that means taking full responsibility.
Right. And, there's definitely, in the world of natural healing, there's many methods. Right?
Exactly.
I would have a hard time listing all the methods that I'm aware of. But it's always about, even in my work as a medical intuitive, well, what's going to work for this person at this time?
Exactly. It's not a one size fits all.
No. Now, Patrick Cooke, sobriety coach, what is the cycle of addiction? And how can we go about breaking it?
That's a great question, because this is at the root of all addiction, and something that I didn't understand when I was going through it, and only come to this realization in the recent years. The cycle of addiction is this: the addictive substance, be it anything from crack to nicotine to alcohol to caffeine to sugar, actually creates the need for itself. So take, for example, you are a drinker like I was. I'd like to go out and party on the weekend. So Monday comes around, I'm exhausted, I'm hungover, I'm feeling the withdrawal symptoms. Alcohol takes a few days to get out of your system. And so as the week goes on, I haven't drunk in a little while, but I'm still feeling that sort of, uneasiness that I can't really put my finger on. Sometimes it shows up as stress or anxiety, or, some of those, like something you can't really put your finger on, but that it's an unease, right? And so by the time Thursday, Friday comes around, that unease is getting a little more overwhelming. And so after work on Friday, I sit down, I have a drink, and I have this great sense of relief that, I immediately attach to, alcohol is the answer. But the opposite is true. It's the alcohol that created the need for itself in the first place. And so when we think that alcohol is the solution, then whenever we're feeling bad, then we go to alcohol as our numbing out agent or our relief agent. And the same goes for heroin, crack, all of the addictive substances. And so the cycle continues whenever we're feeling uneasy or anxious or stressed, we reach for the thing that we think is giving us relief, when in truth, it has created the low in the first place, and we're just trying to get back to normal. Right? And so this is the cycle of addiction. Until you become aware of this, it's impossible to see. It's all happening below the surface. And so in order to break the cycle of addiction, we need to become aware that the addictive substance is actually creating the withdrawal and the need for itself.
Very interesting insight. It's like, I'll have clients, and it's a great point when they've eaten their 15th cookie or, name the addiction.
Yeah.
And they realize, I've eaten my 15th cookie and I don't feel any better. I'm still depressed. I'm still anxious.
Yeah.
Still unhappy. This isn't solving anything.
Yeah.
So Patrick Cooke, sobriety coach, why do most people relapse, and what can they do about it?
Okay. So this feeds into the same thing. Most people relapse because they're using willpower to overcome their addiction. And willpower is a wonderful tool. It allows us to, in the moment, just be strong more predominantly than we normally would. And this works in the short term. When I was first attempting to get sober, I would go 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of sobriety, and solely on willpower and like, okay, I can do this. But as soon as I had that first drink, I would descend back into my old patterns, back into my old drinking and going out to the same places. And so what I realized further along is that I wasn't doing the necessary work underneath the surface to bring my unconscious and subconscious programming and beliefs to the surface, because those are the real things that are causing me to drink in the first place. And so anyone who's committed to overcoming an addiction, willpower, yes, is wonderful at the beginning, but while you are taking the break off, for me, the 90 days, you need to be doing the deep internal work of bringing your fear, your trauma, your emotional wounds, your thought patterns, your conditioning, your programming, bringing all of this to your conscious awareness so it can be scrutinized, it can be healed if it needs to be, it can be replaced if it needs to be. And when we do this, then all of a sudden, like I said earlier, you become empowered because, oh, you realize that, okay, maybe your father was an alcoholic and he treated you really poorly, or, you know, there's something happening beneath the surface that is pushing you towards alcohol or whatever the addictive substance is that you didn't realize was happening. So even if you have that window of sobriety that you've done with willpower, it will always be unsustainable unless you do the deep internal work to bring the unconscious into the conscious mind.
Right. I just couldn't agree with you more. Willpower can be quite strong, but it's only good as it's your willpower is only as strong as you are. So,
exactly.
Let's say you didn't get enough to eat yesterday, or you're exhausted, or you're going through a pandemic.
Exactly.
Or there's rioting in the streets.
Yeah.
And, your children are home all the time. There's more stress. Then how do you deal with that? Right?
Absolutely. You have to be cultivating the practices when you're not being stressed to be able to calm yourself, to be able to come back to wholeness. So when you are triggered by the external world, you've practiced coming back to that space.
Right. And even when you take away the addictive substance, the heroin, the over-exercising, the overworking, take away the addictive substance, all your feelings are still there.
Absolutely. 100%.
And, many people, in my view, make a mistake in thinking when I'm mentally emotionally healthy, I'll never feel sad. I'll never feel anxious, right? I tell all my clients, you'll know you're well when you can get mad, feel sad, have a panic attack, or just feel literally all your feelings in the depth of your total experience and not need to eat, drink, smoke, run away, right?
100%.
Right?
100%. And that begins with self-love and compassion for yourself. Like you said, as soon as you remove the numbing out agent or the escape agent, all of your feelings are going to come to the surface. And if you're not haven't practiced or been aware of your feelings before, it's going to be overwhelming. But my invitation when I work with clients is to be curious about it rather than going into shame or self-loathing or blame or guilt. Be curious about what's coming up for you. Allow it to be there, more with a sense of compassion and curiosity and investigation. And the more we can keep our hearts open and allow that energy, because that's what emotions are, they're energy looking to move through us, it can move through us naturally. And then what remains, what we can distill out of it is the wisdom of why those emotions were there in the first place. And so, like you said, exactly, keeping your heart open, allowing the emotions to move through you, good or bad, then we become whole. Then we no longer need anything to bring us out of that state because we're comfortable feeling all those feelings.
Right. And I loved what you said about moving the energy. One of the things I'm saying with my clients is emotion is supposed to be energy in motion.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're all being a human means having the full range of your experience, right?
100%. Yes.
I think they say something like 12% of US adults are over the age of 12 are on some form of antidepressant.
I would say it's even higher than that, and that's scary.
Well, right now during the pandemic, I think they said that there's scientific research that says that 30% of US adults are experiencing clinical anxiety and depression.
Mm.
And there's even shortages of some of the major antidepressants.
Mm.
The point is, when you are a human, we have this full range of experience, right?
Mm.
And you're definitely going to have a bad day in your life. You may have a bad week, a bad month, or even a bad year. I think a lot of people would say that 2020 is a bad year for the world, right? Planet.
Yeah.
But we know from experience that we're all going to live through it until you don't, right? then it really becomes a question of, how do you put those feelings, energy into motion, right?
Mm.
So there's yoga, there's Tai Chi, there's Qigong, there's breathing exercises, there's meditation, there's plain old exercise. What are some ways that you recommend for your clients as a sobriety coach that they actually put their emotions into motion, get that energy out of them?
Absolutely. Well, for exactly everything that you've been saying, but first for me, meditation is a massive one because it allows us to just be witness to our emotions, to allow them to be there and practice being still, moving away from our ego minds and the clutter and the stress and the urgency and the distraction where most of us live all the time. What meditation does is allow us to create a separation between that ego mind and our true, whole, natural self. And so when you sit in stillness and you become aware of your thoughts and your emotions, you allow them to move through you. And so that's a beautiful way to begin, just to be witness to them. And then, like you said, any sort of movement practice that brings you more into your body. Yoga is a wonderful one. For me, surfing, because I live in Costa Rica, that's got the added benefit of communing with nature. That's another great way to do it. Just going for a walk in the woods without your phone, without anybody else, if you feel called, but just being in nature is a great way to just, allow everything to move through you. Breath work, I'm a breath work facilitator, massive fan of that as well. It just really allows you to be in the present moment and allow the energy to move through you. And it can be scary and overwhelming at times, but the more we resist, the more we push it away, the more intense it will be. So it's practice in surrender. It's surrendering to what is happening in your body at the moment without resistance and just allowing. That's really fundamental.
Now, the first 10 years out of my 27 years full-time experience in natural healing, I was studying and practicing healing work for the brain. And my understanding is that many people with a history of alcoholism have difficulty producing alpha brainwaves. When you're awake, hopefully we're awake, sort of, you're in beta brainwaves, right?
That's
when
right.
you have anxiety, you're in high beta. So alpha is the state just underneath that, and it allows you to relax. So in plain English, many people know that they should relax or they want to relax, but their brain can't get there. And I know when I first went to study with my mentor in healing, she hooked me up. I sat there and pretended or thought I was meditating. And in 2 minutes, she's like, "You can't fool me. You're not meditating. You can't access that." So many people, Patrick Cooke, sobriety coaches, you already know, we hear about meditation, but their brains can't quiet down. Their brains can't relax. So what sort of methods do you recommend for people who haven't had enough practice with these calming activities to produce the alpha that their brain is craving and turning to addictive substances in order to
Yeah, I think just start simple. Just being present. And if you feel sort of anxiety coming on, take a deep breath. Take a few deep breaths just to sort of come back into your body, because we can so easily get taken away by the thoughts, the anxiety, the dramas, the stories of the ego that wants to tell us, that if we can just be witness and allow those things to be there, and just with a simple deep breath or a couple of deep breaths and even an exhale with an audible, like you go, that is scientifically proven to calm you down even faster. And so just keep it simple. It doesn't have to be rocket science here. All we're doing is calming our nervous system. Another wonderful tool that I use with my clients is journaling. When you're feeling like you're overwhelmed or there's a lot going on in your life, the pen and paper can be your best friend. It's got many, many uses, but one of them can be just sort of a brain dump, get everything off your mind onto the page. But you can also use it more intentionally. If you're feeling anxious, you can investigate. Okay, I'm feeling this way, and then just allow whatever comes out. It's another way to sort of bypass the conscious mind and the ego mind to go more into the soul and the unconscious by literally using pen and paper rather than typing on your keyboard. And another way you can do it is to shift your energy in that moment consciously. So if you are feeling anxiety or tension or stress and you would like to feel relief, well, maybe pick up your piece of paper and start gratitude journaling, which can be 2 minutes out of your day. Just literally write down 5 things that you're grateful for, and can be simple as my health, or the water, clean water I have, or the roof over my head, or the love of my family. And as soon as you sort of shift that, like, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it, because it is so powerful. Gratitude is such a powerful emotion that it can literally change your state in seconds if you tune into it. So those would be my top tips.
Okay, those are all wonderful. I totally agree. And this is a good time, if you're listening to this broadcast, I've been giving away one of my 10 books for free. If you send an email to Catherine at catherinecarrigan.com, I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of the Little Book of Breathwork. And that is breathing exercises, affirmations, and hand mudras. And I have a little sequence that I call 8 minutes to inner peace. And you can usually cut your anxiety by at least half in 8 minutes doing this little breath work technique. So there's all these wonderful natural healing methods, and it's just about taking advantage of them.
100%.
And realizing that you have these tools available. Patrick Cooke, sobriety coach, what are some of the major myths that people have about alcohol?
Yeah, so like we were speaking about earlier, so many of us have these unconscious programs happening or operating in the background, and they are functions of our upbringing and our conditioning and our parents and our teachers and our religious leaders, whoever was influential in our early lives. And so we have ideas, if we've seen our parents drinking when we were young, that, okay, well, drinking is something that adults do and it looks like it's fun and they're having a good time and it's stress relief. So we get programmed with these ideas right off the bat. And then we have the advertising industry, which in the United States is spending over $2 billion a year on advertising for alcohol, reinforcing the idea that, oh, you need alcohol to be funny. You need it to be sexy. You need it to land that girl or guy. You need it to be, fill in the blank, more affable, more charismatic, more attractive, more intelligent. And so we have these ideas that are operating in the subconscious that tell us that we need alcohol in order to have X, Y, and Z. When the reality is, and this is something I talk about a lot with my clients, is when you go out for a night drinking, what are you really looking for? You're looking for human connection. You're looking for deep, stimulating conversation. You're looking to be funny or to have fun and be silly. You're looking to dance. You're looking to enjoy food, just to be in community. And when we really peel back the layers, those have nothing to do with alcohol inherently. And so the idea that we need alcohol in order to enjoy those things is a complete myth. And it's propagated endlessly by the advertising industry and then also by our culture. Alcohol is the one sort of state-sanctioned drug where if you go to a party and you're not drinking, you're the one that's, you will be the victim of peer pressure or ridicule or criticism. Why aren't you drinking? And that was something that was big for me to really be able to stand in my power and with my conviction and say, no, I'm not drinking. And for these reasons, I want to feel good. I want to be whole. I want to be successful. I want to be joyous all the time, not just, whenever I'm having a drink. Right. And so it's really powerful. Again, it's about bringing those subconscious beliefs to the surface and recognizing that, no, I don't need alcohol to have a good time. I don't need alcohol to be, sexy or attractive or be better in bed. All these myths that are coming at us all the time, being programmed into our subconscious, those are the things we need to bring to the conscious mind in order to overcome them.
So when you're working with people as a sobriety coach, do you help them identify what their personal beliefs are about alcohol.
100%. Yes.
Right.
And write about it. And that's where another powerful way of journaling can benefit us is like, let's get clear. And so like I said earlier, the first step is clarity. Let's just be really clear about what's going on. What are our beliefs? And if we don't know, let's investigate with curiosity and love, not with guilt and shame. You know, and so if we can approach personal development and overcoming addiction with, you know, excitement and curiosity, like that's a whole different energy than, oh my God, I'm a powerless victim of alcohol, you know, like some of the 12-step programs invite you to do. So for me, it's just a completely different energy to be empowered and to do it with curiosity and fun and excitement, because the other side, I know from experience, is so much more beautiful when you can overcome those unconscious beliefs and really stand in your power and conviction and be the one at the bar saying, I'm not, and not even saying anything, actually, just standing in that energy, I'm not drinking. Now when I go out, because I'm a musician as well, I go and play in restaurants and bars where everybody's drinking. They know I'm not drinking. And a lot of people come up to me and they're like, oh my God, it's so inspiring what you're doing, you know? And they ask me, how did you do it? And it's just, and I feel like, yeah, I feel so grounded, empowered, and whole, and without the need for external validation. So it's really a beautiful process when you approach it from that different energy.
Now, one of the things that we know here at the Natural Healing Show is that our thoughts can literally create our emotions.
Absolutely.
So what would you say are some of the top beliefs that people have about alcohol and themselves? Is it, I can't give it up? What is it?
Well, it's usually tied to something, like I said earlier, that's happening beneath the surface. For me, it was not enoughness, a lack of self-worth. And so that manifests as the need for external validation or people pleasing, both of which are giving my power away to someone else, right? It's not empowering. And so, yeah, like looking beneath the surface and finding out what those things are for you. Maybe you didn't have enough love, you know, from your mother, and you're looking for some way to numb that pain. You know, maybe you don't feel sexy in your body, so maybe you look for alcohol to bring that out in you. And it's always a bottomless pit. You will never find the answers in alcohol. You need to find the answers inside yourself. And so it's really about peeling back those layers of conditioning and being, you know, looking at the trauma, looking at the uncomfortable emotional wounds that maybe you weren't conscious of before. It is painful and it is uncomfortable, which is why doing it in a support community is so much more powerful. Like I have an online group and we do it group calls. And so just listening to each other's stories, it's like, oh man, that's what I'm feeling. And I didn't even realize that's what was happening for me. It's so empowering and beneficial to hear other people's stories, because it's a mirror acting as a reflection back onto ourselves. Like, oh, I didn't even realize that was happening. And now I see it. And so when that comes up again, oh, I'm feeling not enoughness, or I'm feeling like I'm not worthy of love, I can consciously make a different choice in that moment away from that thought, because I can see it now with my conscious mind and say, no, I am enough and I don't need alcohol to prove it. Right? Yeah.
Now, when a person first starts going alcohol free, what are some of the social challenges that they can expect to face?
Absolutely. And we've touched on this a little bit. There's definitely going to be some peer pressure. There's going to be some ridicule. There's going to be some confusion. There's going to be questions. And like I said, it's all about standing in your power. It's about really having that conviction. And sometimes that's going to mean having to let go of relationships or a job or places you go or friends or certain habits. And this can be challenging and overwhelming for a lot of people. They feel identified with, you know, their drinking selves, their drinking buddies, like I did. My identity was completely intertwined with alcohol. And so, and I'm Irish Catholic, so all of my family were drinkers. You know, that's what you do. You go to the pub, right? And so, like, sort of disentangling your identity from one of alcohol can be super challenging, and a lot of stuff is going to come to the surface. Yeah, so I just sort of lost my train of thought. What was the question again, Catherine? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Really, really good about really discovering who you are without the alcohol.
Exactly, yes.
Now, what are some of the ways that, that people can heal their bodies from the damaging effects of alcohol? Because the Natural Healing Show, we know everything is literally mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely. Well, first, just being honest about what the damage is that's happening to your body when you drink. And it's affecting you on every level. Your brain is one of the big ones that it's affecting. Your heart is being affected. Your liver. And one of the things I didn't understand before is like, yes, I know it's hurting my liver, but it's okay. My liver will be okay. It's really resilient. But what happens is when you over-toxify your liver, it secretes toxins into your blood that it can't manage. And those toxins go directly into your brain. And that's what's causing like the sort of malfunction, the feelings of dizziness and hangover. It's the toxins literally in your brain. And so detoxifying from those toxins is super important. And of course, the natural ways would be diet, watching what you're eating. Hydration is another massive one. Alcohol is very dehydrating. So diet, hydration, getting lots of sleep, 8 hours of sleep. And these go across the board. This isn't reinventing the wheel, but, alcohol is such a taxing element on your body. Like when you first remove it, there's going to be a lot of different things as your body comes back into alignment that it's going to need lots of rest, lots of love. For me, it was gastritis. I eroded the lining of my stomach from years of alcohol. And to this day, it's still not fully healed. And because I did so much damage to it, but through my diet using, aloe and, here in Costa Rica, there's a seed called chan, which is a beautiful, beautiful seed that can really help repair your stomach lining. So there's so many natural ways, herbs, and diet to naturally cure your body from the effects. Right.
And I know that in my work as a medical intuitive, one of the first things that I look at is a person's overall toxicity level. And that tells me, how well they're eating or what they're putting into their body and how well your body is able to detoxify what you have put in it, right?
Exactly.
And when we're healthy, your body is supposed to detoxify naturally through your skin, your lungs, your colon, your liver, all these wonderful things, your kidneys. But when you overload, it's definitely a problem. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, we have to remember the three big risk factors for cancer are inflammation, stress, everybody's got stress, and impaired detoxification. So when you overload your body, your physical body with all kinds of addictive substances, you're setting yourself up on a physical level for cancer.
100%.
Now, what are some of the ways we can naturally heal our minds from the damaging effects of alcohol?
Beautiful question. So the way I like to describe it is, as you well know, Catherine, we are energetic beings. All of us are energy. And so we have this aura around us at all times, this electromagnetic field. And so if you think of that as your little sort of bubble, how much discernment are you offering to what enters that field? And so what I'm talking about is negative energy or media or what books or what TV shows or what people, what are the things that you're allowing into your aura? Because these are all informing, what is happening in your emotional mind and body. And so really being discerning about, who and what you're allowing in. There's the axiom that says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So really taking a look at, okay, who are the people that I'm surrounding myself with? Are they uplifting? Are they supporting of my choice to go alcohol free? And like I said earlier, sometimes this process necessitates letting go of some people, and that can be a painful process. But if you can look at it as I am allowing part of myself to die in order to make space to be reborn as somebody else, as the new, better, more healthy version, more vibrant version of myself. And so that's one way to sort of reframe it in your mind that, okay, this is a rebirth and it's the rebirth of the new me, right? And so just having that discernment about what we put in our field, the same way you would with diet. Okay, I'm not going to go out and eat McDonald's every day because I know it has negative effects. But what am I putting into my mind, into my energetic field through media or Facebook or, all these other channels? That being discerning about what comes into your energetic field is super important as physical diet.
I really love that you brought up your energy field. I remember years ago, I taught a class and I taught people how to see their own energy field.
Beautiful.
And I had everybody draw a picture of it, and everybody thought, oh, I can't do that. And then everybody did it. And there was one gentleman in the class, and 12 years before, he had done a lot of what I would just refer to as stupid drugs. When he looked at his own energy field, he could see it. And these drugs, these what I call stupid drugs, they really create a cloud in your energy field. And so many people, as a medical intuitive healer and the author of the book Unlimited Intuition Now, people ask me all the time, well, how can I be more intuitive? Well, the first thing you got to do is get clear.
Yes, that's right.
Because if your own energy field is so clouded up by everything that you're putting into it that's truly harmful to you, you're not going to be able to see the truth. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not have the discernment, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And what was interesting was this gentleman, he saw this cloud literally around his head, above his head, and it was literally causing him to feel cut off from his divine attention and a little bit depressed. So these things have a real effect in how you feel.
Absolutely. Right? And I actually work with a lot of creatives. I'm a musician, as I mentioned myself. And so we talk about it as getting clarity in your creative channel. That connection to the divine, that connection to source. There's so much noise and distortion and things clouding that field that, maybe you've heard sometimes that people have just these songs that come to them out of the ether, right? And so if you are not available or you can't get the clear transmission, that song is going to pass you by and go on to somebody else. And so the more you can get clarity in your creative channel and be open and listening and available and aware, the more you can have that connection to inspiration and divine inspiration and source energy and just let it flow through you and into your creativity. In my case, it's songwriting. And this happens, more and more often, the more clarity I gain. So it's so beautiful. And once you feel that and you recognize it, it's like, why would I ever want to cloud that with something as boring as alcohol? And so I've gotten to the place now where I have zero desire to drink, just because I know I do not want to ever cloud that beautiful clarity of channel that I've cultivated.
Now, Patrick Cooke, sobriety coach, what are some of the benefits of going alcohol free? We talked about, literally becoming a clear and open channel, right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, when I talk about the benefits of alcohol, I say everything is better. And for a lot of people, that's tough to digest. But, let's just go down the list. Sex is one that is far better because you're more present. Your nerve endings aren't dulled. You're more in the moment. People use alcohol a lot to get into intimate situations because they're anxious or they feel inadequate. So if you can do the work to sort of recognize and not necessarily overcome, but bring into your conscious awareness, okay, I do feel anxious, but I'm going to just be in it and I'm going to allow myself to feel it and be present, then intimacy just takes a massive leap into, something that's mundane into something that is, divine and just like, it's visceral and just beautiful. And so sex is one that's intimacy, just full stop, is just so much better without alcohol. And then you can get into everything like conversations. If you're out at the bar and you're having a few drinks, you're dulling your brain. You're a step slower. You might think that you might be funny or more charming, but really you're not. Like now when I go out to the bar and I hang out with people that have had a few drinks, it's like, I don't really want to be around you. You're sort of stumbling your words. You're repeating yourself. You're speaking sort of drama. It's like, I'm not interested. Right. So everything starts to food taste better. Dancing was another one that I really needed to sort of retrain myself to enjoy, because before I needed to have at least 3, 4, 5 drinks before I'd get on the dance floor because I had that social anxiety or that sort of inadequacy feeling. So the more I would dealt with those emotions and allowed them to be there and sort of uncovered where they were coming from, I relearned how to dance. And now dancing is just one of my favorite things to do. And the music sounds better. I'm more in my body. I'm more creative. I'm more expressive. Just like everything starts to be, I liken it to this. If you've been watching sort of television on a small black and white screen your whole life, you don't realize there's anything else until you open up and now you see the world in 3D IMAX on a massive high definition screen. It's just, wow, the whole world opens up. Everything is more alive and more visceral and more inspiring. It's like, wow, I didn't even know this was possible before, right? And so when I speak with my clients, like everything is better on the other side if you have the courage to do the work to get over that hump, to bring that unconscious stuff to the surface.
Now, how can choosing to go alcohol-free benefit the world?
So this is why I'm so passionate about the work I do, is that I believe we are at a crossroads, especially now with everything that's going on in the world. We've got COVID, we've got the riots in the US. It's like we are at a consciousness crossroads. And so now more than ever, it's necessary for each of us to do our part. And what does that mean? It means taking full responsibility for how we're showing up. It takes full responsibility for our energy, our emotions, bringing all that subconscious stuff to the surface so we can become whole. And then what this does, it allows us to be more present in our immediate relationships with our partner, our spouse, our children, our family, and then that ripples out to our community and to our society. And so fundamentally, we are changing society from the inside out. And then what it also does is if we've done the work to heal our triggers, to heal our trauma, our emotional wounds, when we do show up in situations where, okay, we need to work together to overcome this massive problem, say climate change or poverty, for example, then, we don't get triggered into our old patterns, because we've done the work. We've eliminated alcohol as our numbing out agent, and we've done the work to bring our unconscious fears and trauma to the surface. So when we are in a collaborative, collective community, we can contribute and take that leap of consciousness, that paradigm shift that is necessary for us to survive and take the right road on the path to, evolution.
Right. And, what I find is that so many people think, well, it would be selfish of me to take the time or put in the resources to heal myself. However, when you heal yourself, you're no longer a drag.
That's right. Exactly.
You're not a drag on everyone around you.
Yes.
You're not weighing everybody around.
That's exactly it.
Right. And when you take the time to just be the best version of yourself, one thing is when you do recover from something serious like alcoholism, you show other people what's possible. Right?
100%. Yes. And that's something that's been so empowering for me, is like being a role model, not by preaching or telling other people what they need to hear. It's by being the embodiment of change, being the leader just by my actions. Like that, as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And it's as simple as that. If you want to change the world, you have to start with yourself.
Right. Absolutely. And when you are in a good frame of mind and you don't need to drug yourself or anesthetize yourself in order to get there, then you literally uplift everybody around you just by being you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So beautiful.
Now, Patrick Cooke, I saw from Facebook, you just celebrated your 2nd year of sobriety. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited.
And, since you've gotten clean, how do you feel that you yourself has changed over the past 2 years?
I would say the number one thing that's changed for me is being a better father. Like I love my kids dearly, and I was lucky enough to have a job where I could be at home with them when they were being raised, but I was drinking a lot. And so I think I missed a lot, just because when you're drunk, you're disengaged from yourself and from others. You're not present. And so when I stopped drinking and allowed myself to feel everything, and I was more present with my children, you can tell that they can tell, and so the response from their mother, especially, and witnessing it as well, is like the kids have responded in spades. They are just so much more involved, so much more present with me, so much more engaged, and our relationship has just flourished. That is one of the biggest things. And then just, it ripples out on every level. If you do the work to heal yourself, everything else gets better. Like my sense of purpose, my sense of meaning, my finances, my physical health, my mental health, my relationships, everything gets better when you do the internal work to heal first. And so it's just been such a rewarding process, and why I'm so passionate about supporting other people to go down that path, not by showing them what I've done exactly, but illuminating the landscape so they can find their own way, right? And so it's, yeah.
So Patrick Cooke, any final thoughts for our audience?
Yeah, so I just want to say, if there was one message I could convey to your audience, is that you are incredibly powerful. You may have forgotten, but all you need to do is remember. And as soon as you tune into that intrinsic power, your birthright to be powerful and to be fully expressed, to be fully actualized, everything becomes alive. Everything starts to get better. Your body heals, your mind heals. You become more in alignment with yourself and with source energy or God or collective consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Life just becomes so much more fulfilling and joyous. And not to say that there won't be challenges. Like you said earlier, Catherine, there's always going to be stress or fear and anxiety. But the more we heal ourselves, the more we don't have to get taken away by it. We can witness it and just allow the wisdom that those emotions are there to impart, to infuse us, and we can come back to wholeness. And that's the best thing you can do for the planet right now, is to heal yourself and come back to wholeness.
You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today has been sobriety coach Patrick Cooke. Please find out more about Patrick Cooke and his wonderful work at patrickcookecoaching.com. And as Patrick Cooke says, remember, you are a powerful being and you have the power to make yourself well naturally. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.